hit back.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back into the Be Different Podcast 2019. And, of course, that means Andy Mack is here to talk Xavier hoops, kicking it old school with Andy Mack. And, Andy, welcome back to the studio. I know it's been a couple weeks, but we are very happy to have you here. Do you have any New Year's resolutions that you would like to share to the audience?
A couple weeks. It's been like we've taken the whole Advent season off. It's been like 4 weeks.
Well, Andy and Nick and Greg have had a lot of
Brad?
important
There's
events
been a lot of
in
things
their
going
lives.
on. A lot of things.
I've been at practice. I've been scrutinizing the Muskies day in and day out, doing my work. And you guys have been like on hiatus.
Well, Andy, I mean, I have a family. Christmas happened.
You have a family.
You have
got a dog.
I do have a dog.
Come on.
Which is part of the family at this point, and you're not writing me any checks. So if I want to take some time off, Andy, I'm going to take some time off.
All right, we're getting down to the basics now, Brad.
All right.
You go up to the Christmas store and get extra hours at the cash register in Frankenmuth. That's the story, isn't it? You're padding your nest. You're padding your exchequer or whatever it is.
Hey, I'm a man of the people. I pad stats when I can.
You are. You're over there at that German restaurant glad-handing your high school buddies. All that stuff. But
that is true. Shout out to Nick Shelton and Zenders. If you're in Frankenmuth, make sure you hit up Zenders. Well, and my mother works at Bavarian, so stop there.
Another free meal accumulated in Brad's long line of bartered chits that he can redeem whenever he goes home to Fremantle. See, I'm thinking of the future, Zach Fremantle.
And the future does look bright for Xavier,
but is
Andy,
off the charts.
I've been a monk Xavier faithful. I've been asking questions. I've been trying to figure out where everybody is, and everyone's they're off the cliff right now. No one likes this team. They think that we're falling in the tank. We're going to lose the rest of the games going into the Big East season. I feel like right now everybody's emotions have been up and down, and at the moment, everybody is down, Andy. What are your thoughts? That game against Seton Hall,
like the
a really
Pied
difficult
Piper.
one.
You're leading them over the cliff, Brad.
I'm not leading anybody.
You played the game. You know that this team... Team 97 is not done. Far from it. There's plenty of things are going to happen. A lot of them are going to be good. There's a lot of time. Look at history. Look at the Team 95, what they did. Go back on and on.
I mean, you're a man of history, right?
The only problem with this team is a lack of depth. To be honest with you, let's face it. I mean, I love Coach Mack. I hope he does well. He's just starting the ACC season. He's going to get knocked around a little bit with that Louisville group, God bless him. But he did not leave much, obviously he left the core four.
Yep.
And they are, I still claim, and I use the word still because, I don't know. Anyway, the core four, the 2 sophomores, the 2 juniors, I stack them up against any 4 in the Big East. That's an excellent group. They're just being overplayed right now out of necessity. It's unfortunate that Elias Harden has been like a total passenger. He seems like a nice kid. I think the players like him. If you look on the bench, he's still into it. He's encouraging his teammates, but as Travis Steele said on his radio show, he's pretty realistic with these guys. A lot of coaches blow smoke up their dresses and then, bid goodbye to players at mid-year and go on with the rest of your life. But he leads the Big East in negatively in turnover ratio. I mean, he's been a human turnover, except for those 2 games in Maui when we saw a light at the end of the tunnel, and he shot it well, played well against San Diego State and Illinois. And I thought he's a late bloomer. He needs confidence. He got it in Maui. He came right home. And I talked to Byron Larkin one day, and Elias doesn't like to play on the Cintas floor in game situation. That's really unfortunate because every year you're going to play 18 or 19 home games.
How do you not like playing at the Cintas?
I don't know. He came right out the first game after Maui, and he got up in the rotation, and he came on the floor and turned the ball over like 3 straight times. It looked like he was a deer in the headlights. And you're rooting for the kid. You know he's got talent. He's long. He's quick. He can shoot off the dribble. He can hit the spot up 3. But unfortunately, he's just turned the ball over at an incredible rate. And, maybe there's hope. I hope there is.
All right, well, let's go to the Seton Hall game. I mean, Xavier, I thought, played so well, especially in the first 30 minutes. I mean, over 10 minutes to go in that game. Xavier stretches that lead out to 10. Zach Hankins was fantastic. Ryan Welch played very well as Paul Scruggs. It looked like Xavier was going to be able to come away with a huge victory at home, and then Seton Hall went on a big run, 34-14 to end the game, won the game 80-70. So, Andy, your thoughts on that last game?
Well, I'm right with you in step and lockstep about that first half. They were up 42-38 at the break, but they should have been up by 12 or 14. They had a 9-point lead with like 2:25 to play. Timeout, I think Seton Hall, because Willard is a smart old fox. And they go over to the bench, they're high-fiving, and it looked like they had a chance to go double digits at halftime. And all the stats were in Xavier's favor. Only 4 turnovers. They moved the ball well. Hankins scored 18. Q was just setting him up. The pick and roll was going dynamite. The only negative stat, and it's been consistent with this team, is that they only made 1 of 7 threes, and there were some good looks there. And the other guys, namely Myles Powell and company, were 5 of 9 from 3. So that's a deficit of 12 points from the 3. But it was a lack of stops, really, a lack of defensive stops. And, Willard is a smart old fox, as I said. Travis went zone in the first couple possessions there coming out of that timeout. And Willard gives the ball to Powell. He becomes the point guard. He dominates the ball, and he makes just enough plays. I mean, I thought Q defended him pretty well in the first half, but he took only 5 shots. He didn't force it. He's not one of these guys, me. I'm going to get my 25 no matter how many shots. He had all 5 of his shots. He scored 12. He kept, Xavier couldn't get the separation. Powell and those guys kept reeling him in. And then they get up 56-46 with 12-something left in the second half, and you're feeling relatively good. And I'm going in the back of my mind, another Willard timeout. They reel him in fast. It becomes a 1-point game, like 3. Xavier turns it over 5 times in 9 possessions, and it looked like fatigue to me. I mean, too many minutes. Q played 40. Paul Scruggs, a dynamite game, 39 minutes. I mean, where is the guard support? Kyle Castlin, unfortunately, has gone back into a cocoon. Maybe it's a confidence issue. I think he can play. We bring up that Malcolm Bernard analogy. I've looked at Malcolm's numbers the one year he played for X 2 years ago when they made the Elite Eight. He was a vital player. And he went into like a nuclear winter for about a month, from the UC game in January into the Seton Hall in February. He was terrible. He was bad. They kept playing him. But Bernard, then, boom, final 10 games, he was maybe the second, third best player on the team. So I'm hoping that trajectory is there for Kyle Castlin. I don't know if they're the same player. They sort of look the same. They're long. They're all legs and arms. They're, smart guys. So hopefully Castlin can step up here. And I think he's important and right now I think you got to take him out of the starting lineup and play Welch.
Well, and I'd agree with that. And Ryan Welch has been very good on the offensive end. I mean, defensively, he struggles at times. But I thought Trav did a nice job in that Seton Hall game. Mix it up, play a little bit of man.
Yeah,
if the matchups aren't there, then you go into his zone. 2 guys that really struggled in that game, Najee and Quentin. What do you make of their performance?
Najee played so well against DePaul. He was Big East Player of the Week, 19-14, and maybe, 6 assists, and minimized the turnovers. Obviously, he did not get to the rim and do his thing and finish against Seton Hall. Defensively, I don't know. I don't look at the tape play-by-play. I mean, I got grandkids and all that stuff, but I think he may have made some errors. I don't know. I mean, Powell is a flat-out killer. He is as good as Marcus Howard. I think he's more of a game changer consistently than Marcus Howard of Marquette, because Howard seems to go like, if he doesn't make shots, he goes brain dead, and they take him out of the game and sit him at the end of the bench, and he pouts. But Myles Powell's a leader. He attacks the rim. He plays some defense, and a great shooter. I mean, he's like you. He'll find a way. He's not going to force it. He's going to find a way to get it off. He has different releases, and he gets to the rim. He has a great first step, and he's a gutsy. they list him at 6'2". He's probably 6'1", and he just goes to the rim against anybody.
I think that's what makes it tough
Wow.
on Xavier right now is we don't have that clear-cut star and that clear-cut leader to kind of push us through at the end of games, where Coach Willard can really rely on Powell on the floor to take over the last 5 minutes. I think for Xavier, it's who is it going to be? Is it going to be Paul at times? Is it going to be Quentin? Is it going to be Najee? And we just don't have that guy down the stretch that we trust enough to win. Because I think because it's going to continue to happen. Xavier's good enough to match up with these other Big East teams. You're going to have a lot of games that come down to the last 5 minutes, and there's a huge difference between being in the game and then being able to pull it out. Like, I don't think we're going to get blown out in too many games, but how are we going to figure out how to close out games? And that's something as a player, you just have to have a guy step up. I mean, in years past, Xavier's had that, whether it's Tu Holloway or it's J.P. McCure or it's Trayvon or Samaje Christian or D. Davis. I mean, there's always been that kind of one stable force at the end of the game. Someone has to step forward and be that guy, and I think Coach Steele is trying to figure out who it is, and ultimately you can coach that, but someone at the end of the game has to control the pace, has to control the ball has to find them, and they got to make a play. And right now I think it's just unsure of who that is going to be.
I may be totally wrong. I didn't play the game. I have watched a lot of games by osmosis. I think I've assimilated some bank of knowledge.
A little bit, I would say.
A little bit, anyway.
Not much. But
I think it's got to be Paul Scruggs.
Yeah.
Because he's the best post-up guard in the league. I mean, he can go to the hole against anybody. He usually makes good decisions. He's a great free throw shooter. And he also is a flat-out deadly three-point shooter. It's an ugly stroke. People play off him because he's such a great driver. I mean, you're going to give him room. He can step up and step into the shot at the three-point line because the guy's not going to come out and take him. He's not going to pressure him with the ball. And I think the problem with Scruggs is maybe is he going to have energy left because he plays so hard, and he's avoided foul trouble lately. But he gets, he's one of those guys who plays so hard that officials look for him, and he gets fouls.
Do you think, and I agree with you, that I think Paul needs to be that guy at the end of games. I think he's kind of proven his consistency now. I think Quentin and Paul struggle playing with each other at the end of games. At what point does the coaching staff take Quentin out and allow Paul to be the primary ball handler at the end of games and allow him to make plays? Because I think you saw it at the end of the Seton Hall game. I think who's going to be the guy with the ball? Is it Paul? Is it going to be Quentin? Like at what point do you take Quentin out?
I don't think you can take him out. You have to leave Quentin on the floor, and you got to make him the enabler. And he's more than willing. He's not a selfish player. He's not a shot hunter. Quentin will do his job, which is setting other people up, turning the corner. If he's open for three, take it. But there've been a lot of late shot clock situations with Quentin where he's the only option left. They don't set enough high ball screens for him. Maybe. I mean, I'm no X and O guy, but he's not a selfish kid. He's a smart kid. He likes to lay out dimes, assists. He does it well, and there's not enough depth to play. You don't want to take Quentin to the bench in that situation. You just have to, make him suck up the defense. Find Paul Scruggs. Find Najee if he's open. Near the hoop. I mean, it sounds easy, but I think Scruggs has got to, and also, I mean, put a ban on three-point shooting unless they're wide open.
Or if you're Ryan Wellage.
Unless you're Ryan Wellage or Scruggs. Look at their numbers. Wellage is shooting like 45% from three. And Willard did a great job, the Seton Hall coach, in spotting him. Because Wellage played 31 minutes. He's not going to take any bad shots. He knows what he can make and what he can't make. And usually early in games he'll miss a couple because he's maybe nervous, overhyped, or whatever. Mm-hmm. Once he gets his confidence and his rhythm, if he can step into it, I mean, it's better than a layup with that guy. I mean, Scruggs is a sneaky. He's shooting like 46% from three. He's made, it looks bad, but it goes in. And it goes in from the corner. It goes in from the wing. It goes in from the top of the key. He's not like a one-trick pony that is locked into one shooting spot. This guy is this guy's a really good player. He's a
I mean,
competitor.
I didn't realize before the year how good that Paul Scruggs is offensively in the post. I mean, he's crafty. He's
takes
extremely
anybody
patient.
down there, man. They did a great job. Myles Powell should have fouled out of the game with 5 or 6 minutes left. He should have been out. Willard's not going to take him out with 2 fouls, 3 fouls, 4 fouls because he's so integral to their deal. He subbed him in a little bit, but Paul took him to the hole a couple times and dinged him with a couple of fouls. Powell should have had his second foul in the first half, but they crafted it and gave it to somebody else. I mean, it was announced 2 fouls for him, and I don't know. Willard did a little bargaining and got that taken away. He got away with it. He gets star treatment, and he deserves it. Powell does, I guess. He dinged a couple of our guys on charges. He wards off, banged a guy in the head. He should have been out of the ball game. He should have been fouled out. The first foul on Tyreek Jones in the first half was one of the worst calls. I mean, it seems like it's a minor deal. 8 minutes into the first half, he picks up the foul. Tyreek couldn't believe it. I mean, the Seton Hall guy drove off the wing, lost control of the ball, and Tyreek touched him after the ball had almost gone out of bounds. The guy calls a foul. And then Tyreek gets another one because I think Powell took him or Cale took him into the post, and it was one of those calls where it could have gone and the guy jumped into him. I mean, geez. And then Tyreek, Hankins is playing well, so Tyreek, wasn't himself in the second half. He went up against that big Gill guy, Romero Gill, and he goes to the rim, Tyreek, with one hand. He never does that. He always goes up with 2. He either dunks it or goes to the free throw line or something. And, that was not I thought Tyreek is going to be our hope here in the second half because they're going to change defenses against Hankins. They're going to do something different on the pick and roll to try to take him away, which I thought they sort of did. They followed him on the roll really tightly, better than they did in the first half. But Tyreek, for whatever reason, I mean, he gets those early fouls, and at least one of them always is bogus.
Yeah. Well, a disappointing loss, and if Xavier's able to pull out that game against a really good Seton Hall team, the narrative for Xavier,
the whole attitude
much different.
Changes. Yeah. I mean, the guys, Steve Lavin and those guys on the Big East, the FS1 thing, are going, well, the Xavier team, the surprise team of the Big East, they're 2-0, they're leading the league. We've probably underestimated them, and la-di-da, they're going to be good. They're on the cusp of the top 25. They're 2-0 in the league. Look at their losses. They're all good losses, and they beat this hot Seton Hall team, and on and on it goes. And maybe Andy Katz mentions them. And,
maybe. If Andy Katz mentions you,
these other
mentions
guys,
your team,
Seth,
then you know that your team's
Davis
for real.
Gives them a little love somewhere, and it's all they're 10-5, 2-0 in the league, and it's all hearts and flowers. They lose this game. Seton Hall's lucky to be 2-0. I mean, they got a gift win over St. John's,
which they shouldn't have won. There was a poor call at the end of that game.
There was a poor call, and then Mustafa Heron and Shamari Pons go to the foul line with less than 44 seconds left, and they both miss front ends of 1-and-1s, and they're 85% free throw shooters. Go figure.
Well, and then the guy for Seton Hall who hits the 3, Shavar Reynolds, that was his second made 3 of the season.
Yeah, he's like a little guy.
He was a walk-on last year.
He played a little bit in the Xavier game, but he was a little guy. All he did was chase Q around and try to nip at his heels.
You can tell he's not a guy who's going to play a lot.
No, he's a hard worker. He's a hard-working kid. I mean, that's his 15 seconds of fame there. That fall-away 3 to beat St. John's. I mean, God bless him. I thought he played well. He played hard. Hey, Willard's bench outplayed the Xavier bench by 7 miles. I mean, and it's not Travis's fault. Travis is a hell of a coach. He just doesn't have a whole lot of chess pieces to make moves right now. Hey, I guarantee you he will next year. But this year is not over. People come up to me at Cintas and, they recognize me because I've been around for 42 years. And they go, Andy Mack.
Is it 40? I thought it was 44.
44 years. Andy Mack, it's all over. This is bad.
It's all over.
This is bad. Let's get out the crepe paper. Let's drape the Cintas in black and turn the lights out and use the floor to as a greenhouse for the people in the agricultural department, and this is terrible, and la la la. And I go, folks, the cavalry is coming over the hill. I mean, you talk about the 5 recruits. That's just the start of the story. They're going to be grad transfers. They're going to be late 2019 signee, whatever it takes.
Does that kind of sound like you're giving
There's
up on this year when
like,
you start, you start looking ahead?
Not at
I'm
all.
just
Team
making
90s,
sure.
We got how many games we got? We got 17 games left in the Big East. No, 16 left in the Big East regular season. The Big East tournament. The possibility of an NCAA bid, and they're going to have to do better, obviously.
Well, what do you make of the Big East right now? There's only one top 25 team, and that's Marquette.
Well,
Xavier
they're
plays
dubious
on Sunday.
top 25. They're going to if they don't beat Xavier Sunday up at the Pfizer Forum, the new building there in Milwaukee. What do they need another building for in Milwaukee? I like the old building there. What do they call that?
Andy,
I've been there.
If you don't know,
I've
I
seen
do
games
not know.
there. The old building in Milwaukee. That's still. They have 3 buildings lined up there along the same block. They got the old building where Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Oscar played, and Rick Majerus. I saw him split his pants there once, coaching the Marquette Warriors. Then now the Golden Eagles. Then they got the Bradley Center, which is a great building. That's been there for a few years, and now they got this new place.
Does Xavier have a chance on Sunday?
Do they have
Marquette
a chance? Is talking about building a building on their own campus now or something.
Well, regardless of what building they play in, does Xavier have a chance?
They got a chance.
How do they beat
It's
Marquette?
Somewhat.
Marquette.
It's a microscopic chance, but no.
Arguably the best
They don't
team in the
guard
league.
anybody.
Okay.
They don't guard anybody. They don't rebound.
Well, we need to score though.
Well, we got to find a way to score.
We still got to put
I
the
think
ball in the bucket.
Welledge is going to get some room.
All right.
To shoot it. I mean, it doesn't look good. Marquette is going to be in an angry mood. They lost by 20 on the road at St. John's. They have the Hauser brothers. They're pretty good.
Love the Hauser brothers.
Marcus Howard may go off he went off for 40 and a half.
He might have 50.
He scored. He had
50.
5 at the break against Southern. Now they're one of the worst teams in the history of the world, but he dropped 40 in the second half. He's a flat out great shooter. I mean, he gets in that zone, and Howard is not. And they have some quality. They picked up that Morrow guy that transferred from Nebraska. He can't shoot free throws.
Morrow's all world. He's an all world player.
He can't shoot
Andy.
free throws, but he's tough.
All world.
And they have Joseph. The thing about Marquette is they're playing Joseph Chartrone.
Joseph Shart?
Chardonnay. I don't know.
You're not high on him, though, Andy.
Well, he's a Fordham guy. He's a Fordham guy. Pascal.
Pascal's a Fordham guy, too.
Yeah, but he got out of Fordham after 1 year.
Okay.
And he went to Villanova and became great. The Chartuni's pretty good. All right. He's a transfer. He's a grad transfer, I believe. Morrow is good. He can't shoot free throws. They've got Marcus Howard's great. That Sakar Annam, they never let him shoot, but he's a good player. Sam and Joey Hauser are
pretty good.
Flat out, but they're from Stevens Point, Wisconsin. How can they be basketball players?
Man.
It's like being from Frankenmuth.
If they were at Xavier, they're the best players in the world.
Yeah, they would be. Theo John, I think, is a tough kid, but his post moves are somewhat crude. I like Jamal Cain, but they're not playing him much. He's like a rangy guy.
Not playing much.
Not playing them.
So you're saying
they're good. They're really good.
You're
They're averaging 90 a game at the Pfizer Forum. They're 10-0. They've got some quality. They got some real ducks they played up there, but they beat Wisconsin in overtime. They beat Louisville in overtime, and the Cardinals are still bitching about that one. They're not happy about that game. I don't know what happened, but they think they got screwed. They beat a good Buffalo team. They beat K-State, so they are legitimate on a roll. 90 points a game at the Pfizer Forum. Sunday's going to be difficult, but suck it up, play well. Take it down to the wire, give the ball to Scruggs, and away we go.
The good thing is it's on a Sunday, so Musketeers can go to church at 8 a.m. and say their prayers, and then head over to the arena to play.
Sounds good, but elsewhere around the Big East, I don't know if we've got time here. But what else is going on in the league?
We can run through it quick.
Hey, St. John's their starting 5 is excellent. They switch every ball screen. They gave Marquette all sorts of hell because they switched every ball screen, and the Hauser boys looked a little like deer in the headlights there. And Howard was a passenger against St. John's.
I would not expect him to be a passenger 2 games
in a row.
No,
I think he will emerge and and shoot the lights out that the Pfizer Forum.
St. John's played mad. I mean, after that loss to
Yeah,
Seton Hall, their
yeah,
first loss
yeah,
of the year,
yeah.
impressive to see that team respond the way they did.
They say that Chris Mullen can't coach. I disagree. I've sat behind his bench a couple of times. I've had the opportunity, and he keeps it simple. They play an NBA style. Everybody gets a chance to shoot the ball. They switch every ball screen, and they want to get done with defense as quickly as possible so they can play offense.
Mm-hmm.
And they have quality players, man. I'll tell you that. Shamori Pons is a total, he's like Powell. He's a total player. Simon, the big guard that Sean Miller couldn't make the Vulcan-Pine link with at Arizona, Simon's very good, big post-up guard, probably maybe right there with our friend Scruggs in terms of post-up ability. The guy from Michigan State, Clark, is playing out of his mind as a fifth-year senior. The guy from Heron, from the Auburn transfer, is a quality player. He looks like he's brooding a little bit, but he can play. And who am I leaving out? Oh, the JC transfer, L.J. Figueroa. That guy has played well. But what you do for depth for St. John's, I don't know.
Yeah,
and what do you do for rebounding? They play defense. They get after you defensively. They steal. They don't block shots this year because they let Tariq Owens.
He's playing. He's having a good
playing
year
at
too.
Texas Tech.
Yeah,
he's
Texas
playing
Tech.
well at Texas Tech. He's not a starter. I think he's like the first man off the bench, but he's averaging like 4 blocks a game.
I mean,
if
Texas,
they have Tariq Owens, all they have to do is give him the ball like once a game, run him one play for him, he'd still be there.
Yeah.
Because he could see what they had coming in, but he got tired of never seeing the ball.
And Texas Tech right now, really one of the surprise teams in all of the country. Top 10
Yeah.
defensively. Tariq Owens a big piece of that. And that's not a team before the season that you really expected to be that good. They lost a lot of
And they're
talent.
playing in that tough league in the Big 12. I mean, I'm a little worried about how many Big East teams are going to get NCAA bids. Right now, if the tournament were today and not over 2 months from now, there'd be 4. Maybe 4 Big East teams, which is the worst performance since the new Bees. But I think there's hope for 5. And therefore, there's hope for Xavier because X is now 77 in the NCAA NET power
which
ratings.
I know you love.
And they got to do better than that. They got to get up because if it's 77, you ain't going to make it unless you win the conference tournament. But there are plenty of opportunities to move up the ladder there. Marquette, away from home, they still got to prove it. St. John's, they took a big step up. I've underrated them, and they should be 2-0. Villanova has all the equipment. They just, like Jay Wright says, hey, we're not playing defense. We got to play too much zone right now. They're going to get better. They've got all the tools.
When DePaul gave them a really good game in their Big East opener.
Yeah, but it was all predictable. I mean, they just Pascal and Booth just
took over at the end.
Plunged the daggers in.
And Quinterly's playing a little bit now.
Quinterly is now because Gillespie, the sophomore point guard, had a concussion. Quinterly is getting his minutes, and he's looking good. He's
playing better.
Yeah, he's not that big. He's not like a moose like Brunson or a strong guy like Arcidiacono, but he goes to the basket. He's a gutsy kid. He seems to be. Jay Wright has kept him active despite the lack of minutes. He's a 5-star, and whatever that means. So Quinterly is now a part of the equation, and that develops his depth. And Villanova is going to be good. Who else? Creighton. I mean, if they make threes, they can beat anybody, anywhere, anytime. They can beat you in a parking lot. I mean, Ballack is one of my favorite players in the league. He's only a sophomore. He's an all-court, do-it-all guy. And Tayshaun Alexander, who was like the 3rd point guard last year. Big kid, Oak Hill Academy, 6'5". They've moved him to the shooting guard. He's having a great year so far.
What do you make of the Butler-Georgetown game?
I think Butler misses a couple guys. Obviously, Keelan Martin. He made Kamar Baldwin the second option offensively. Keelan Martin took all the heat. Excuse me. And now I think Baldwin is struggling a little bit as the main offensive option. He'll figure it out. He's that good. But right now, Baldwin is not a very efficient player. And they missed the big guy that Travis likes so well, who went to Butler, Tyler Weidman. Oh. Tyler Weidman, Indiana kid, very tough. Joey Brunk has played a lot better. And Nate Fowler from Moeller's a good guy, but they don't have that toughness from Weidman. I mean, he would go toe-to-toe with Tyreek, with Govan, with any of those guys. And they don't have that right now inside. I'm not a big Paul Jorgensen fan. I mean, I think he's a good player, but last year in the Big East, he really sort of packed up his tent. They've got some good pieces, but they've got work to do at Butler.
Okay, all right. Well,
Georgetown, though, watch out. This guy LeBlanc, the freshman, like a 6'8" guy, all arms, dunks it, runs the floor. I mean, we'll see how he holds up in the Big East, but I think he's going to be a player to go with Govan. And they brought at Butler, they played Greg Malinowski, who is a grad transfer from William and Mary. He scored 26. He hit 6 of 7 threes. He's a 6'6" guy, but he handles the ball. He's they got to find a place for him in the rotation, that's for sure, because McClung was injured, and Malinowski just won the game for him.
Big East very much up for grabs right now.
But high-level talent. I mean, this is an entertaining league. I mean, now we're number 5 in the power ratings. We've been number 3 the last mostly for the last 5 years. But there's a lot of ability in this league, man. Oof. A lot of ability. And Xavier's got a lot of it. They just don't have enough of it off the bench. And, I mean, Travis and those guys are pretty smart coaches. They're going to try to figure it out and get some more minutes and try some different approaches. I still think at some point that Tyreek and Hankins need to play together. I've been riding that horse all year.
I don't think it's
they're trying to figure out a way to do it, because if they had a third big guy, if our boy Kaiser Gates had not gone pro, this would be a little different equation.
Yeah, I still think they could give a shot at the 1-3-1, but
I think they're going to have to play more zone because, you know, the coaches won't tell you this, but that's a way to rest guys a little bit.
Yeah.
And also, it just gives teams another look to prepare for and all that. Yeah, they're going to have to play more zone. They almost got away with it against Seton Hall, but that darn Myles Powell figured it out. That guy he's a killer.
He's pretty good.
Flat-out killer.
Well, Xavier will have their hands full on Sunday when they play at Marquette. Marquette will be a heavy favorite.
Muskies at the buzzer, 89-87.
Wow.
Maybe in overtime.
Interesting call there. You want to put
That's
money
probably
on that?
a long shot. No. They'll be a double-digit underdog, I would guess.
I would think it would be close
Maybe
to that.
9.5.
I think it'll be 8.5, anywhere from 8.5 to 10.5. I think the spread would be on
Let
that
it go.
one.
Those people up in Milwaukee, you know, they love the Golden Eagles now.
Well, still a lot of time
Which
left.
is fine. I mean, fill it up. I mean, let's go. Let's go. It's good for the league.
Yeah.
It's good for the league to an extent. Now, they want DePaul to be good. They want St. John's to be good because of the big media market. You know, I'm into that to an extent. But I want Xavier to be good.
Yeah.
You know, I want them
I
to.
didn't know
and they
you
will
wanted
be.
them to be good.
They will. Have faith, Muskie fans. The cavalry is coming over the hill in great quantities. There's some tanks there. There's some, there's some fighter jets. There's some guys who can stick the shots. And Travis knows what he's doing. The assistants know what they're doing. They've recruited well. And the parts will be assembled for there's a lot to be done here with Team 95. The uniforms aren't going to get put away till March sometime. They're not going to let it. This season is not over. I've seen this movie before, and I know what the result's going to be. And it may not be. It's not going to be any Final Four this year, but it's not going to be like sub 500 dregs of the Big East either. There's just too much talent and too much intelligence over there for that to happen.
All right. Well, we will be watching on Sunday. Andy, thank you for coming in. And that is Kicking It Old School with Andy Mack.